Okay, so we've covered why, but let's also take a look at what happens, or at least some of the things that you see when people skip steps, because literally what we're talking about is rushing into business. One of the things that I see a lot on YouTube and so many different channels where they say oversimplify things,
Mhm,
and they
mhm.
give people a reason, the motivation to be able to go out into the field, but they're not necessarily giving them the full scope of what it's going to require.
Mhm.
And then inevitably what ends up happening is then they go from that person that said all you have to do is, and then end up having a conversation with someone where we have to say, okay, well, I know what they said, but let me tell you what it actually is going to require for you to be able to do that. And when you skip these steps, it
Yeah,
means that you have to go back. And
right.
when you start a business, your name is out there now. Now
Yeah,
it's reputation. Now you have more to lose. And if you don't have some of these things in place, it just means that you have further to fall.
yeah,
So the
yeah,
foundation is important because it's the cushion. It's the
yeah.
net that catches you. So inevitably when something comes up that you didn't think about, it's the thing that's going to catch you and keeps you from falling back all the way to starting from scratch. So what are some of the things that you see when people skip steps? What breaks first when they haven't thought through the what ifs?
Yeah, so normally, what happens is, probably the first thing that surfaces are related to financials, right? So,
Yeah.
I can't pay for something, because I didn't think of, whatever, so on and so forth was required, and now I don't have the funding to be able to do something. So it's,
Mm,
when you look at, business failure, and you ask entrepreneurs, why did you fail? Probably 50% of the answers
yeah.
have something to do with finances, right? So I think finances is usually the first thing to break, in some way, shape, or form. So it's, hey, we don't have cash flow, we can't get a loan. There are a lot of different excuses that all fall under the auspices of finance. But I think finances is usually the first thing to break. And when you were talking, leading up to this, you mentioned that, you gotta start over again. But, business on entrepreneurship is unrelenting and unforgiving.
Yeah.
And so, when you make a mistake, you may not get a chance to start over again. More than likely, you're
Sure.
not going to get the opportunity to start over again. What's more than likely going to happen is you're going to fail, and your business is going to fail. And so starting over means starting over with a brand new business. It's not starting
Yes.
over with that business. You're more than likely not going to get that opportunity, right? So it's helping entrepreneurs understand that. And a lot of times this is hard. Entrepreneurs can be hard headed. I mentioned to you in our previous conversation. There's a level of arrogance that's needed as an
Hmm.
entrepreneur, because
Hmm.
you have to really believe that you can do whatever you set your mind to doing, and you're going to hear no a lot, and you're going to hear a
Yeah.
lot of naysayers saying, "Hey, you can't do this," and you gotta, you know, you've got to listen to the conversations. You've got to
Hmm.
take in um, the good input that you're getting, even if it's negative, but you have to just keep pressing on, right?
Yeah.
You can't let someone say, "Hey, you can't do this." Oh my God, I'm going to take that in. No, I can't do that. No, I can do that, but you're telling me I can't, so that's going to drive me, one, and two,
Mm.
because you say I can't. What I'm going to do is ask you, why don't you think I can? And you're going to give me a reason. Now that
Yes.
gives me, well,
Yes.
again, it's your plan A, plan B. Now that you've raised something I may not have been thinking about, as to what when you can give me one of the reasons why you think I can't do something. So now that I'm you've introduced, new knowledge to me, that
Hmm.
I wasn't thinking about. I can come up with a plan to, to circumvent that if that obstacle was to surface. So now I'm going to show
Absolutely.
you that I can, but, the fact that you told me I couldn't is actually good information, because you raised something I wasn't thinking about. And
Hmm.
so that for me is great information that is allowing me to plan better, right?
Absolutely. I think what you're highlighting are the blind spots.
Yeah.
And you can't necessarily address the blind spots when someone points them out if
Mhm.
you're still scrambling and doing things based on reactionary solutions. So when we're talking about one of the things I explain to people is there's preventative measures and then there's reactionary solutions. So preventative measures frees up your time. So when someone points out a blind spot, you have the bandwidth to address it.
Yeah,
Reactionary solutions is when you're just scrambling and you're winging it.
yeah,
And you're just going, okay, well, I have to do this. Well, now I'm going to jump to this and now I'm going to jump to this. And it makes you look scrambled. And it's something that you may not see, but other people will see.
yeah,
And that's where it can end up doing a lot of damage. One of the other things that I find really important is yes, the arrogance.
yeah,
Entrepreneurship comes with a certain level of irrational confidence.
yeah, yeah,
You have to believe in yourself no matter how many times someone will say, you know what, it's not going to happen, or no, you can't do it this way, or no, you can't do it that way. I love the fact that you said it's yes, you can hear that. Don't
yeah,
just dismiss it, but ask the follow up question. Why are
right,
you saying that?
yeah,
Because maybe they see something that you don't see. And once you see it, one things that I find myself saying a lot to people is once you see certain things, you can't unsee it.
yeah,
And I think that's the important part. So asking that follow up question. If we're talking about the things that can go wrong, don't just listen to the people that tell you everything's going to go right, and
yeah,
don't just internalize someone that says everything's going to go wrong.
yeah,
What you want to be able to do is you want to take the pieces of each thing and say, how do I customize this to my situation, my business, my surrounding circumstances? So I love the fact that you asked that question.